Welcome to the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, your launch pad for skyrocketing success in real estate investing. I'm your host, Gabe Rodarte, alongside Mark Monroe. We're ready to bring you transformative stories, groundbreaking strategies, and the insider secrets of real estate giants. Get ready to accelerate your investment journey and become a true power player in the world of real estate. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the Real Estate Power Play Podcast. My name is Gabe Rodarte, and I will be your host today on the show. I have my good buddy of mine. I am super pumped to share him with y'all. Just really excited to have him on. Saul Z is really a guy who's inspired me in a lot of commercial stuff. And has a track record for 20 years in the business, moved over from residential. We're going to hear more about that beginning story and then really hear what he's doing in this next season and how we can help you guys grow your business, grow with more commercial, with more space, and really just enjoy this part of the process. I think that of all the people that I know, he is one of the guys that knows how to integrate life, business, faith, work, relationships, partnerships, and he does a really good job at it. So Saul, welcome, brother. It's good to see you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Now, thanks for this introduction. Oh, that was wow.
No, you're good,
that.
man. You're good. So what's happening in your world? What you've been up to and what's going on?
Yeah, in my world, it's been pretty busy. On what I'm exciting this week, I just received an appraisal for one of our properties that we are working Beaver Creek. That's one of our three main projects right now that we're going to the tail end, and we've got the value that we needed, and we can expand on that a little later. So I'm excited about that.
That's cool.
I am in the last 6 to 8 months, mostly were in stabilization phase. It seems like in my career, always we acquire a lot of properties, we stabilize, we acquire, we're stabilizing. So I think, I'm getting ready for another tranche of acquisitions, which is getting ready right now. And on a personal side, I'm excited. I have a senior who is going to college this year. He's going to FIU. So that's kind of exciting and a little bit interesting. He's going to be leaving from the house. We're going to Thailand with him. He had on a bucket list to go to Muay Thai camp. And believe it or not, he invited me. So we're training with him, sparring a little bit, So in 4 weeks, we're going to Muay Thai camp in Thailand for 10 days where we're going to be training that. So that's in a nutshell.
Wow. That sounds fun, man. That's a bucket list in itself.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump in, man. Let's go from what's your story? Like, I don't know the beginning 10 years of your life. I know the last 10, because you share that a lot and you help out many people. But what did it look like? Well, how'd you get involved in real estate? What were you doing before? And we could just kind of run through that.
Yeah. So I'll give you the highlights. Definitely, I can go dive very, very deep. But in a highlight term, I'm an immigrant in this country. That's the best gift in my life. That was I was able to get to America. So I came here as a student in 2001, right around 9/11. I went to UAC. My initial goal, I wanted to trade with the commodities or stocks. That's kind of had in my mind that I'm going to be trading. But long story short, during the college days, I met a friend of mine who was also Lithuanian here in Chicago, and I took quickly an appraiser's license. It was accelerated course, I remember, and I started doing appraisals on the side, and it was, and I'm talking about that was 2003-ish. And I started cranking a lot of appraisals very quickly.
And are these mainly residential? Are these commercial? Or
that was residential. Yeah, that was residential.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was residential. And it was like, wow, someone will pay me $250 for a report. I'm like,
That's
dude,
cool.
no, that's amazing. I can get 10 of them, and I was just going, right. There was
Wow.
refinance. It was a mortgage industry on fire at the time. And then I got introduced to one lady who had a small course about buying properties from sheriff auctions, and I started going there. And I remember, I bought my first condo in Woodridge for $86,000 for cash. I had some of my money, and I had borrowed from a friend. So anyway, I bought it for cash for 6,000. I renovated myself. It was just paint job, carpet, and changing a little bit of the kitchen cabinets. I think it was altogether less than $10,000. Long story short, I made about $10,000 on my first flip. And
Cool.
that's pretty much ignited my career. Once I made out $10,000, I put a pause on one semester for my college, and I said I'm gonna do a
Wow.
couple more. And it wasn't a couple more, it was a lot more. And when the market crashed, I transitioned to brokerage. I started selling REOs. I sold a couple thousand properties with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, B of
Wow.
A, all that stuff. That was also kind of like I introduced at the time to Tony
So
Robbins.
you were a broker then?
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
One of them, right around, I was so oblivious when I think about it, right? So in 2007, my son was born, and I was going all in kind of real estate. So my wife, she was a loan officer. I partnered up with the guy who had an insurance company. So we opened a boutique shop. So I was running a real estate company. My wife, she started mortgage company, even though I was at the helm of growth. And my other partner, he had an insurance company and financial advising company, and it was 2007.
Wow.
And 2008, we signed the lease. My son was 1 year old, and the market crashed.
Dang.
And
Wow.
I had a partner actually on my real estate company. He was an attorney, and he bailed from real estate. He moved to London. He signed up, I think, for BP and house attorney, and I was just end up holding the bag. And
Wow.
but anyway, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I pivoted
Yeah.
real quickly to distress. Even though at that time it was also like old boys club, you can't get in REO. It just yada yada yada. Anyway, I got introduced somehow at that time. Tony Robbins, I remember, went to Business Mastery, and get to talk to a Chet Holmes Group who passed away. He was a sales. And I don't know if you know there is a book, Ultimate Sales Machine. I hired these guys to build me a kind of funnel and pitch deck, how to go to pitch to those big Fortune 100 companies
Wow.
like Freddie Mac, or Wells Fargo, Fannie Mae, and it was called, I think, an Empire Builder. Anyway, it was a long time. Anyway, so and we did a Dream 100 campaign, designed the Dream 100 campaign for those key executives, and I was getting in the calls and cold calling vendor managers, and I got in a call, very very high up people. Long story short, I sold. I think the first year doing that, 500 homes.
Oh my gosh.
In the first year doing that, and we end up in Wall Street Journal number 34 team.
Wow.
Like within a year, and we sold probably a couple thousand homes within that period of distress, right now, up until 2011ish, I think. And then I pivoted to start acquiring back homes. I started working as a broker for Invitation Homes. So in a sense, I was managing for Fannie, and then I was starting buying for investors, one of the Invitation Homes, and that was probably about a year or two, and then I started flipping a lot of homes again. And 2017, I bought my first industrial property. And 2020, I sold all of my residential properties. So that's kind of in a nutshell.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, what a awesome entry into, let's just pause there for a second. What is something that you can look back now and say, look, I mean, we have resistance being a resilience, um, tenacity, pushing through. We have all these little catchphrases, and you're a really good, you know how to recap a season of your life, I think. And I've watched some of your stuff. I definitely am on your newsletter. We're going to talk about the newsletter in a bit. But what is something that you would see for those who are going through right now? You can see that in the residential space, we're in 2025, April. It looks like this show will probably be out next week, it looks like. So, what would you say right now for those who are listening, who's in the residential, moving to commercial, or in commercial, just starting off? What is something that you've learned through just that? It seems like the first 12 years of your real estate career was like, go, like just wake up and go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a number of lessons I can tell to myself, 20 years ago. And it helps me actually with reflection with my newsletter. But one, I think, if I look back, I want to say that, everything is gonna be okay.
Oh man.
And there are so many moments, if I go back, right, when you really that doubt kicks in, or not necessarily, but really that levels of uncertainty. Will that be okay? Will you survive? Will you pull it through and stuff like that, right? And if I put percentage wise, I think at least probably maybe that's Pareto number. 80% of the time, it's not worth of worrying, because 80% of the time you will be fine. And if you look, 10 years, decade, right? It's very likely you're going to be fine. You will have to pivot, you'll have to going away on another direction, and of course you have to be, you have to have tenacity to go forward, but at the same time you have to be flexible to pivot. I had to pivot, multiple times in my residential career, right? From appraiser to flipper, from flipper to broker, from broker to distressed broker, from distressed broker to when there is too much inventory, then there is no inventory, then acquisition broker for institutional investors, then again back to flipping homes and
Wow.
rehabbing in multiple markets and in commercial. So and every single time when those pivots happened, it felt like, oh shoot, no, this model does not work anymore, and I'm doomed. But at the end of the day, no, it always worked out. There are of course some scars, but those scars you're building the thicker skin. Um, Another thing is, also in a matter of looking at decades, right?
Mm.
And I have a very really really cool story actually. And at the same time, when I opened that, when I jumped in real estate, I bought one home that I'm gonna rehab it. Um, and you don't have a lot of it, kind of, you don't have a lot of understanding, hedge the market. I felt the market is going down. It was 2008. My son was 1 year old. I had a townhome where I lived. I bought another home. That was not my first flip. It was one of the first ones, and the market tanked in a couple months.
Wow.
And I didn't know what to do. Everyone around was giving away properties, doing short sales and foreclosures. I don't know if you were in real estate, but it was
Yeah.
like
Well,
massive, right?
I just started in real estate in
Yeah.
'08, and
So
I had no
property
idea what I was
values
doing.
tanked like 40%, like
Yeah.
in a matter of, a year, I would say, right? Inventory levels, I remember, was between 13 and 18 months, something like that, right? So nothing was selling. So I had a choice, like everyone does, like, short sell the property, or just give it to the bank, because I bought it for 200, probably value, I don't know, like 120, right? And
Wow.
something deep inside me, it just like, no, screw that. I'm gonna plow it through. So I rented my townhome because it was already done. I moved into that home that I was gonna rehab with my family, 1 year old son, and I waited out pretty much, entire storm. It was like, yeah, maybe a little over a year. I lived there. That's how I was able to carry the mortgage. Then eventually we rented out on a negative cash flow. Guess what? So, and at that time, probably for first 4 or 5 years, logically, if you put in the spreadsheet and if you model to anything, that was stupid, meaning that I should have taken the losses. No, maybe, I mean, some people are saying, yeah, just do a short sell. Another one, just take the loss, pay out whatever's, is negative principal and move on. But I kept it, and I kept it to the day. This property right now is on a contract, on the wrap, on the seller finance, and I'm selling at $430,000, and I just realized actually I made it $230,000.
Wow.
Even though it was kind of, looking back, it was poor almost decision based on any gurus you check, but my gut says no, we're just gonna plow through. So what I'm saying is, again, if you look at 10-15 year timeline, everything is going to work out, even the worst possible deal at the worst possible time buying. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I like the thing what you just said. I got the trust your gut part of things. And I love the part we're saying, logically, sometimes this now look, when we say this, guys, I say this with a preference. When you guys when you're looking into an asset, you want to look at your exit strategies and go through that. We can go through that in a little bit about how Saul goes about his acquisitions of commercial assets. But when you're in it and things are happening, which some people are in right now, Saul, I mean, we have many
Yeah.
friends that are probably in that. You're going, man, this just doesn't line up. But if you look farther enough down the line and you trust your gut and you go after it, stuff does happen. I really like what you said is like, hey, look, everything works out over time,
Yeah.
and so I think that what happens is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we have our ego involved. We have some pride involved. We have, man, I'm not going to hit my goal the way I thought. I got into this thing to do a 3-year, 5-year plan. My 5-year plan just went to crap. It blew up right in front of me. And now what do we do? And I think that not everyone has a career path that's always moving upward, right? And you're mentioning how many times you had to pivot. You probably are the most pivoting person that I've ever had on here, where someone's just going, you have to learn how to flow with the times. And there's many people that I don't think they're flexible in that, right? And they haven't really developed that skill. And one of the things I've known is that the people that have been in the business the longest, especially real estate business, any business, learning to pivot is something that I hold very valuable and true now. Last year, we did. I have a phrase every year, and I put it up above my door so I can look at while I'm at the desk. And last year was courage to reinvent. And my wife, we just did everything we could to just reinvent ourselves in a new way, whether it's family, relationships, marriage, friendships, business, doing more commercial brokerage, commercial teams. And you really have to set that goal in front of you, saying, hey, pivoting is part of the process, right?
Yeah.
What is something that you could look back? I mean, it sounds really like, to me, I get excited hearing that because I think that a lot of people need to hear that right now. I think all of 2024, everyone that I knew was going, okay, how are we pivoting for this next season? Right?
Yeah.
How are we looking forward? I think that if you haven't pivoted already, guys, I'd encourage you to really start reassessing it or assess it now. But what would you say something, but just to kind of tidy up that and kind of segue
Yeah.
into something else, what would you say something would do if they need a pivot? What is your takeaway over the last 20 years of you saying, to pivot, you would need to have these few things?
Yeah. Um, if I want to be as clear as possible, because it's almost like a, you know, spiritual understanding how, because every day I'm still learning, right? I really don't know. The more I am in this industry, I think the less I know, really, in fact. But if I would try to answer that question is, I think the main challenge comes in is that people have goals, and goals typically have a timeline. But the way life comes to you, it comes at in a different kind of way, right? It definitely doesn't have your timeline. So the problem is that when you have the goals and you're trying to impose your timelines on life or economy timelines, right?
Right.
But if you have a North Star, so let's say one of the things what I did, which is very controversial, I stopped doing goals for the last 2 years. I kind of have my North Star where I'm going, and that North Star also a little bit, changing, but I'm not putting any more timelines. Okay, by quarterly, we're gonna have that much territory, and if it doesn't happen, that's fine, because if you look at the North Star where you're going, at some point it's gonna happen. So that's one thing. So pivoting is just pretty much, not setting deadlines, which is almost like, you have to have a deadline when the goal is gonna happen. That's number one thing. And in terms of, I think that Jeff Bezos says, we have to have enough conviction to go towards your North Star, but also you have to have that ability to pivot and then feel your gut, when it's time just to switch to maybe a little different lane, even though keep your North Star going, because your North Star is also all the time, it's a little bit clarifying as you grow in life. Your North Star getting more clear, getting, because your North Star typically will not be the same 20 years ago. Maybe it's going to be towards that direction, right? But you're seeing them more clear. Your clouds are kind of going away, right? And your milestone changes. And if you don't put on dates on milestones, I think that's when your flexibility happens to you.
Wow, man, that you're right. It is a little controversial. Think about it. That is something that someone probably would see. But I saw you post something the other day, and it got me, because I'm going, okay, you were talking about your North Star. I think you're talking about Sam Zell, and really allowing some of the words he said. I actually got the audio book because I saw your post and I saw the newsletter. So I'm like, you know what? This is like the OG. I need to read this too. So, but it's something that I've never really thought of before, of like saying, hey, look, focus on your North Star, and the timelines will just start falling into place, right? Wow, man, that's awesome. Okay, well, I want to go into what you're doing now. For those who don't know, I honor what you're doing as far as your whole commercial journey is kind of like, I don't know. To me, it looks like there's green lights all over the place for you. You're just like, green light, let's go, let's go. So 2017, you buy some properties, you make some stuff happen. Was this an acquisition of like a long-term strategy? Was this something like, I'm just gonna freaking buy something? Was it a golden deal, or was it something where you just like, I just need to get into the space?
Well, there is a story to it. One of my mentors, his name is Arnold. We've met right around the time, and at the time I was doing just only residential. No, he was doing commercial, probably for a shorter amount of time than I am. And we kind of started talking about cash flow numbers, asset numbers, and when you're residential, really your lingo is a little different. Your lingo is a lot of times like, transactions, like, how many deals have you done per year? How many deals doing per month? How much you're making per transaction. When in commercial real estate, you get introduced to different lingo. What is your cash flow? What is your asset, total asset base, stuff like that. What's your LTV to entire portfolio? And of course, we're always thinking about cash flow numbers, which is supposedly should be equal to freedom. And long story short, I saw in the numbers, when we're talking about cash flow, asset, and accumulation to the same amount of energy output, it's probably 10x, right?
Wow,
I'm like, wow, it just like, it's unbelievable, how much faster with the same amount of effort you can do in commercial real estate. And long story. And what happened? We started, three of us. We started meeting on a regular basis. Three friends. We were three friends, and it was right around Thanksgiving. I saw property in MLS. Again, 2017 is the movie that's happening probably right now with offices right now. because I've seen those movies, right? That movie used to happen in 2009, 2011, when if you could do a survey, people said residential real estate is doomed. The property is never going to appreciate anymore. This is just bad thing, right? No. Then, after that, I saw the movie was with industrial, even with apartments, and then it was with industrial. Industrial was pretty much radioactive. No one was lending money at that time on vacant buildings, especially, and the property wasn't MLS. It was bank owned. It was $9 a foot, and it was completely vacant. And we went to look at it. It was 2017, I think, Thanksgiving Day. Went at it, and I'm like, it feels like it's a good deal. I just don't have a sense exactly how I'm gonna fill it in, but it's a good deal, and it's MLS up for grabs. And my friend says, yeah, it's a good deal. And I sent an offer, even though it was a broker. Of course, I asked that broker to represent us, so we can guide us where we can get it. We got a deal, and that was my leasing career start. I'm like, okay, I need to lease it. So within due diligence, I leased probably 80% of the building. There's 4 tenants. And within 7 months, we refinanced our equity back. So we put like 250 into it. We refinanced our equity back with the bank within 7 months, maybe a year, because we filled in 100%. I did appraisal on this building earlier this year. It was $5.2 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so, and it's really not because I'm a genius. It's just because you're at the right time. So I'm leasing it right now $9 a foot. Right now the rate is $9 a foot lease. I bought it for $9 a foot. I bought it for $9. It's just because that's how industrial took, right? No, it took from no one wants it, and right now everyone wants it.
Yeah.
So,
one of the things that I got from, I forgot where I heard it from on the podcast, but they said, it's hard to get lucky if you don't acquire anything. Like you have to, you don't know, I have a friend of mine, and I think he was on here, where he was saying that, he bought a shopping center, didn't know, very similar situation. And then lo and behold, you have a big box retailer, you have a Walmart, and everything else goes up right down the street. And you're going, my building just went up crazy in value just because I was holding on to it through a tough season. Kind of like what you were mentioning before. The metrics didn't make any sense. You just knew to hold on to it. And then something happens. Wow, that's awesome. So you do that, you get now you're kind of fired up. Okay, you buy this property, you're seeing this is before 10x is easier than 2x. This is before all of these other books that have come out recently and education. What were you doing also? Like, this isn't the only thing you were doing was acquiring real estate. So you were doing two things at once, right?
yeah, so there was the first building. At that time I was still a residential real estate investor. So,
Okay.
I had a company, ibuyillinois.com. And I was at that time just 100% fix and flip guy, and I was wholesaling at the same time so I was doing a lot of direct to seller marketing. That's where I cut my teeth on direct mail, PPC, call calling, text message. Those were the times, right? 2000, I think 14 all the way to 2018. I was buying in Chicagoland, in Indianapolis, and in Miami, in 3 markets actually.
Wow.
Yeah, Dan Breslin was my partner in Miami, and we were doing probably about 200, believe it or not, 200 homes a year, and
Jeez.
between 30 and 50% were fix and flips when we were rehabbing them, and the rest were wholesaling that we were not able to take in our inventory. So that was my first building, and then I bought 2 more bus terminals. We'll put in a contract in 2019. At the same time, also I learned about Commercial Academy, and in 2019 I came to Orlando. I think it was spring, or maybe 2008, 19 in Orlando. And I put a deposit for DAs for platinum membership, but I was so busy. I said, look, here's deposit just for accountability. I'm gonna come, but I need to clean my plate on residential. Meaning, I was just busy. I was flying different markets, and And it took me a year kind of to downsize, and eventually I sold that business, and I started buying commercial real estate. I met Rafiq Moore over there, and we bought the first deal within 3 months, and within a couple of years, we bought another dozen of deals. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
There is a nice story actually with COVID. I did my Ironman first Ironman race in New Zealand. It was the end of February of 2020, and COVID just breaking out. Somehow in that part of the world there was no COVID, and I was even thinking, to not to get back. And we had my
Really?
biggest deal at the time on the contract was 2 school bus terminals for $6 million. We closed, I think, March 5th. That's two school bus terminals,
Wow.
and school shut down a week later. And I put all my chips on the table, right? And who knew? But guess what? I mean, they paid. They didn't stop paying. It was,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So
That's
you kind of
fantastic.
never know.
I've
So
never.
when I want to say everything is a green light, yeah, it seems maybe a green light. Actually, that's probably a lesson to me. I should communicate more of the plowing through stop signs when there's the red lights, you know,
That's a good point.
and
Way to
I
put.
should probably start writing it because I think there's a lot of value in those when you plow through red lights and the stop signs. I just don't write it enough. I should probably
Yeah.
share that more.
Yeah, I would love to hear those stories because I think that resonates with most people. I think
Yeah.
that what I've seen, especially being on this podcast and people that text us and call us and just other stuff, and you get probably hundreds of people throughout the weeks, you give so much. Um, there's so much value in that lesson of how to be consistent, persistent, how to plow through, how to keep going. I think that it's something that I see that people want to, in general, get involved with real estate. There's a couple stoplights that I had to plow through, or stop sign, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
that we just really had to plow through. I think again, it goes back to the part of where if you can, if you could really spend time with yourself, block out the noise, have a North Star, really doesn't matter what anyone else says. Get some coaching, but really it's your own gut, because there's going to be quite a few people going, why are you buying a bus terminal? Like,
Yeah.
I've never really heard anybody. I didn't even know you bought a bus terminal. I've known you for quite a few years. Like, who buys bus terminals? I mean, there's probably so many people that was questioning, going, so I just want to make sure you're gonna buy a bus terminal. All right. So you're a residential guy and you're now buying bus terminals. Why does this make sense? Right. So that's interesting, man. I really appreciate it. For those who don't know Saul, and I'll just kind of introduce this part, he is probably, when I first met him, he had this reputation from everybody that I knew, and this is from our commercial group, as being the guy who knew how to market. Like, for some reason, you knew how to market, get in front of a seller at a mass amount. I know you've done your own trainings and other stuff, and I don't want to go there. But for those who don't know, you have this, you have a gift of seeing what's that end product and the pathway to get there. And you do it really fast. I mean, it's pretty incredible. I know you probably do it faster now than before, but it has been one of the staples that I've seen in your journey, just in 4 years that I've known you, 3.5 years of me go and just watching you going, I know how to get in front of that person. And it's interesting that you've used that skill to get in front of high level tenants, all types of tenants for your shopping centers, like industrial parks, getting in front of clients, direct to seller. You are really uh, revered in our group and within the commercial community, of going, man, this guy knows how to connect with people. You've transformed a lot of our businesses. And I just want to, I'm seriously,
Appreciate it.
there is marketing techniques that we do in our own brokerage that I've learned from you, watching you do it. And I'm going, okay, there's a path here. So I just want to say thanks a lot, and then also kind of highlight those for those who don't know, as we segue into what you're doing now with the newsletter and how you're able to really give back. I think it's a key thing that we kind of miss, Saul. Like, I don't know that marketing is one of those elusive things for some people, right? And getting in front of someone, getting direct to seller, or getting that perfect tenant in, creating systems to make things, work well. there's a skill there that you have, like an operational skill that not I don't see many commercial people have it at all. I think it might came from your broker world, but I want to dig into that also with your newsletter of like, are you sharing, like, let's just dive in. Are you sharing the newsletter because you're like, what's the point of the newsletter? And then how did you like really come up with it? And what was the beginning of it?
Yeah, the beginning beginning was uh, I, I I think I always enjoyed I think the initial inspiration was just reading, for example, shareholders letter of the Warren Buffett, who has been done for 4 years, right?
Wow, okay.
And always thought I want to do something like that. So it started writing my my capital partners about our projects. Then I pivoted to recording videos and kind of giving an update on my projects, and I started sending that to a little broader audience on the Substack, and I saw that people just really kind of enjoying it. And then I turned just to written newsletter, just kind of really reflecting on the existing projects. And you know what? I realized that it was really almost like therapeutical to me. It was really nice to
Wow.
reflect, because when you have to put it on the paper, and a lot of times, especially real estate, we're going through the numbers and we're just rounding up always, right? Rounding up the higher number, capex writing to rounding up the lower number. But when you're writing, you're really honest with yourself. So actually, it's really good. Reflect. I mean, look, all the professional athletes, the best in the world, right? And we're in the business as a professional athletes. So they go, they look at the videos, they study, they repeat, and they just reflect, right? So next time when they do the drill, they know exactly what needs to
All
be
right.
done.
Good point.
So it's really actually good for me to reflect, and really it's so cool to go back, let's say that your deal did 4 years ago, and you look at pro forma, on multiple, okay, and that's how you projected. And actually that's what happened. Okay, so where
Wow.
were there is inconsistencies? What happened? So for me to write 1,000 letter newsletter, it takes probably about 4 hours. But I'm
Wow.
getting myself about, actually, yeah, I thought this way, I thought that way. And I'm not packing all of it. I'm just packing the highlights, but it's really, really therapeutical, for myself. Also another thing, really, if everyone has an urge to give back, and that's the two of the main gifts that we can do, just to get that feeling of giving back, and actually igniting people to share that gift sometime in the future. It just really just probably that dopamine spike. I mean, the giving back,
Yeah.
it's one of the most amazing feelings is that it is actually
Yeah.
can buy it. And when you give something back, just it's feel really good. On a really technical side, there is two CTAs in the newsletter. So I always get more influx of capital partners who would like to invest in our deals, and we're getting some deal flow as well out of that from starting investors or guys who are breaking in, or advice, or a deal is too big, they want to partner up with us. So there is some deal flow on that
Wow.
newsletter as well.
So guys, this is called joinvaluebuilder.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of Saul, joinvaluebuilder.com. And that is, and we'll put that in the show notes and stuff like that. Um, what is something that you're getting out of this? I want to say getting out of this. What is one of the things that you're noticing is a question right now in the market that people are responding to you? Like something that's like kind of a shocker, like, wow, I wasn't expecting this type of response.
In reference to a newsletter,
Yes.
in reference to his newsletter, I really was not expecting organic growth. And we're 1,000 people right now signed up, and yeah, I'm looking right now at the testimonials. I created a flywheel of testimonials. There is probably, I don't know, probably 100 testimonials, and there is I'm reading
Wow.
right now. I print every single of your newsletters on my board. And thank you very much. You changed the marketing strategy. Every it just And for me, something that it's so obvious, but for some folks, maybe if they didn't study this and that, it's just like at a light bulb. So I guess I'm just
Wow.
feeding it a dopamine, on those testimonials.
Um, so, and then you also do, every now and then, because I was on a call with you last week, you also do these calls, right? And you go over some case studies, you have some people on. Is that a podcast that you're now doing and that you're growing into, or is that a coaching program, or what is that?
So yeah, so currently we're doing webinars once a month. There is no set schedule, but I invite people like yourself, and I invite maybe subject expert on some of the subject in real estate. So we do webinars once a month. I'm about to start the podcast probably next month or so. It's going to be bi-weekly. It's going to be Value Builder, probably very similar to your format. What big project we're also working on this is we're about to launch a software. It's called Investor HQ AI, and that's for small bay industrial. That's for acquisitions. Pretty much acquisition tool, direct to seller. That's exactly how we are buying property. I mean, that's what I know. Buying properties direct to for seller, and we will have a boot camp in June in Chicago, how to use that tool, how to acquire, how to lease, how to market small bay industrial. So that's kind of what I'm working on.
Wow. As far as assets and what you're acquiring recently and what you guys been focused on, you're focused on some really big things. What's happening right now in just the portfolio side and the GP side?
Yeah. So right now my focus is acquiring small bay industrial properties. That's our main focus. In the last 2 or 3 years, we acquired three big malls, and then we were doing deconversions for industrial. That's going well, but at the same time, we realized that I miss to have those smaller projects, because when you're in a big project, right? First, we thought maybe we're gonna turn in 2 3 years, and actually probably turning up to 3 to 4 years projects. Pick one is at the tail end, which is over 70% occupied. On Mansfield, we have actually one big acquisition, disposition when we're selling to a national tenant to one of our Macy's box. And Beaver Creek, I just did appraisal, and we're finishing refinance. We went from probably 40% occupied right now, close to 80. So we're doubling the value. So in the last 3 years, we were kind of acquiring a big deal for within 6 months period. But that's really heavy lift on leasing. And what happens when you buy those big deals? I really like still to have those small pops when we're talking to 20, 30, 40,000 square feet. You can turn them around 6 to 12 months and sell it or keep it if it's in your portfolio. So actually, my next acquisition spree is going to be call it medium size assets,
Yeah.
before we get to another round, maybe a big mall. So I think the way I'm feeling right now, it may change. That probably it's okay to have one big deal on a plate,
Yeah.
but when you're getting 3 or 4 deals at a time, you have to scale, and it just becomes okay. We buy and you pivot, just only stabilize. You
Yeah.
buy and you stabilize. I think I want to get to the point. Uh, Maybe it's analogy to the housing, when you can actually get cranking on acquisitions, but at the same time you're getting cranking on the stabilizations. But what happens when you buy a big, huge deal, you just like gearing up on acquisition, you're buying it, and then all your focus is on stabilization. So you're kind of rebuilding every single time acquisition and stabilization. And with the smaller deals, you can have both going on at the same time.
Man, this is good. This is I had someone on that was sharing with me the difference of fast, medium, and slow money, right? And I was just looking over some of the stuff and I'm like, okay, we're in a place where we need a little bit more fast money to go fund because we just bought some other bigger things, right? And so I'm like, okay, we need some fast money. We need some good stuff going on. That's because sometimes the slow projects that you're just like, okay, I got everything done. I'm waiting 2, 3 days for everybody else's response. And I'm like, what do I do with my time? Well, let me go, let's keep the machine going.
Yeah.
Um, so man, I have one more question to end. I want to really honor your time. Um, when you look at the legacy of what you're building and you run into many people, and I think that people get involved with real estate in general about the asset and about the goal of freedom, right? And that's a lot of stuff when we talk to real estate people of all sorts. Freedom is really one of the conversations, or legacy. What do those things mean to you?
Yeah.
And how are you pivoting that? Your son's senior, he's moving on.
Yeah.
Maybe some encouragement, or like you said, plowing through signs. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So freedom and legacy, definitely those are big names for entrepreneur. Uh, I will start from freedom. So on the freedom, I think also this is a moving target, at least was for me. And I realized that it's a very, very moving target. And I really don't know how that freedom will transpire to something else, right? Sometimes in the future. And I was in a group with Dan Sullivan with 10X. It's right exactly when he was writing the 10X. And I
Wow.
remember doing one lunches and we had a quick conversation, and he explained it later, that concept in the book. And really, when you look at entrepreneurs or real estate guys right there, in the beginning, the typical story, they work on the freedom of money, right? So they want to get money, and because they're trapped with not enough for them. So
Right.
eventually they get money that they feel like that it is a freedom of money. And some people never get to the feeling of enough. That's another battle. But then what takes priority? They have the money, don't have the time. So they work on getting a freedom of time, then eventually get
Right.
freedom of time, and have a little bit of freedom of money. The next freedom is freedom of relationship. Then they want to have the freedom to associate and hang out and talk and be only with people I like, and I want to get away from people I don't like. Once they get that, then maybe that comes in when you say legacy. Once they have that, there is a freedom of purpose, right? So at the tail end of their career, that's most of them, then in chasing the freedom of purpose, then there is that discover, okay, how much is enough, and
Right.
let me do a foundation and stuff like that, and all that, and so that's how I see. And what's that ultimate freedom? I think for everyone is going to keep changing as you grow in life, and maybe there is something beyond of ultimate freedom of legacy or purpose, right? Maybe that comes in spirituality, God, whatnot. We just don't know. We probably can see down, but we can see up, because there is so much up, but you're not there yet. You didn't
Yeah.
grow enough.
Yeah.
So you don't see it yet. So last thing on legacy, if I take 10 years ago, I love giving back, and we build houses, and we were going to Mexico once a year, and it's such an amazing feeling. So I remember I had those aspirations, build a foundation and maybe slap my name on it, and then an aspiration, no, I'm not gonna slap my name, I'm just gonna make it anonymous. And then they realized, okay, and then I kept going a couple years. No, there is a way actually to work with the ego when you're giving, and when you should be able not even to ask anything back when you even have a. So I think legacy is just at this point right now. uh I'm gonna accept probably insult a lot of your, for me right now, legacy is also just one of those not important things. I think 3 years, 3 generations later, no one's gonna remember you anyway,
Yeah.
whatever, how much
Yeah.
legacy you did, how much goodness you put in this life, how many universities you established, no one's gonna remember your name, maybe in 5 generations. So it's also pointless, in my view right now, but maybe it may change in the future. So,
Oh, no, and I'm with you because I know that we follow some of the same people, and
yeah,
more I go, I mean, I'm 44 years old, 3 kids, oldest is 14. I've repivoted so many times. I joke around with people saying I Forrest Gump my way through this part of life, like I had to
Yeah.
figure it out. But as I go through the process, I'm realizing legacy changes, thoughts change, process change, what I call important changes. Sometimes time and just being present is like if I could just buy enough time to be present with everybody that I really love, that's dear and true. Um, those things are what's key. And I think though, and this is something I want to get from you, and then I know we have to hop off. What is something that gets you up in the morning if you know legacy is 2, 3 years from now? And the way I see it is, and I tell my kids this, I'm like, listen, the goal with having great character is not today. We really don't know how great your character was until you're long gone, until we can really put the period at the end of your story, right? And you're going, man, Saul did this and he also did this, and no one was looking, but he did this other stuff to that guy. And no one even knew it until that guy shows up one day and he tells your kids, going, hey, one day your dad paid the bill whenever I just couldn't afford it, or he gave me that extra month when he gave me that leg up, or he paid for my sponsorship for this thing that I didn't have any money to do, but it transformed my life. I just want to say thank you. I honor your dad. Well, that's not till after we're gone, right? That's a really cool thing. What is the
Yeah.
thing that happens today? What is the Saul gets up and he's like, I know today this is my North Star. How would you help someone identify that?
So for me, it's actually, I have a, process, clarify, simplify, repeat. And actually, for me, it's probably every single day, clarifying, simplifying, and repeat, or that North Star. And if I would try to define right now my North Star, I just want to be the best human being I possibly be, and keep advancing that. So there is so much depth of how much you can
Wow.
advance. And every day, if you can do a little bit better, that's all it is. And your milestones will keep advancing too. It's not, I want to say it's not changing, but they just keep evolving, right?
Yeah.
It's keep evolving how much you can be a better human being and possibly be. And, like Tony Robbins shared, and actually that's dear right now to my heart, that giving back and trying to help people that you can impact. For example, I'm going to Thailand. I'm gonna stop in Bangkok, and I have my first mentee over there who joined my team. Back when I was
Wow.
starting, right? And I, taught him how to, flip houses and how to sell, and he was actually a pretty good sales at the time. But I was, that he, as he describes, one of his first mentor, right? And for me,
Wow.
it wasn't a big deal at the time, but 15 years later, he's doing really well, and I'm stopping there, and it's such a joy
Wow.
to understand that you had a touch in some human's life, and he's gonna touch so many humans' lives. It's the best thing, So I think this is my milestone where I'm feeding off,
Wow.
when I can help that.
Man, that's awesome. That's powerful. Guys, get in touch with Saul, go through his newsletter. So this is again, so we'll go back over. It is joinvaluebuilder.com. That's the best way to get a hold of you. I follow you on Facebook, on Instagram, on all the other things that you're part of. Saul, I call him Saul Z. Saul, you would have to really explain your last name so people can follow you, but do it. We'll put it in the show notes also. Saul, I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
All right.